Let's bring in former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, now a distinguished fellow at the Hudson Institute and a Fox News contributor. Secretary Pompeo, good to have you here today. Can you unravel this for us? What happened here?
Well, Martha, no, I don't think I can. And I don't think the Secretary of Defense could unravel it either. If there's one thing he wasn't today, is clear. To say what he said would be a major policy change. It ought not to be done answering a question at a podium standing next to the Japanese Prime Minister. I think what President Biden did today, given the context of the first 16 months of the administration, right, the debacle in Afghanistan, negotiating with the Iranians, telling the Russians that a minor incursion might be okay. I think this will both anger the Chinese Communist Party, but not benefit the West and our partners. I think there's a lot of confusion. I think there's a lot of confusion inside this White House. My guess is our friends and allies around the world are saying, what the heck's going on? This was not a useful pronouncement of American foreign policy. It feels a lot to me, Martha, like you remember when President Obama had his red line in Syria? It feels a lot like this, too. I hope that the Chinese Communist Party doesn't see this as a repeat of a minor incursion comment with all the intended ambiguity and doubt that flowed from that.
So, does the president need to come out and be much more clear on this? Because he said, we stand by the one China policy and all the attendant policies that go with it, which would mean that we would offer assistance to Taiwan to defend themselves, but we wouldn't do it ourselves. That is what the policy is. And I find it really hard to believe that someone who served as a senator on the Foreign Relations Committee all these years isn't super familiar with the nuances of this policy, Secretary Pompeo. So I ask you again, what do you see there? What is going on? Why did he answer the question that way?
And Martha, you're exactly right. He would have been deeply aware of how difficult this issue is, how complex the ambiguity associated with this. This is a long-standing policy, so he would have known that. Maybe he's just lost a step, Martha, and doesn't appreciate that when you say what you said today, people are listening all across the world, not only the Chinese Communist Party, but our friends and allies in the region, too. I think, Martha, the most important thing he could do would not be to come out with another statement, but to begin to do what needs to be done, to actually show, not through words or a statement that has to be walked back or walked forward, but with actual deeds, begin to deliver the tools to the Taiwanese people so they can do what needs to be done to defend themselves, to build out a relationship with the Japanese and the South Koreans. I'm glad he traveled there. I wish he'd have done it at the beginning. But to begin to build out a set of understanding so that the Chinese Communist Party will understand that we are serious about the threat that we feel they pose to the independence of Taiwan.
So Newt Gingrich was on earlier today, and here's what he said.
I thought what President Biden did was exactly right, given the mess in Ukraine and the degree to which I think the Russians did not believe that the Western world would come to the defense of the Ukrainians. And now there's a much bigger war with worldwide implications of global famine and just enormous problems. I think here he's trying to be very clear.
So given all the aggression by China on a number of fronts, is it time? Newt Gingrich is essentially saying, change the policy. No more one China policy. We would actually go in with military support on behalf of Taiwan. Do you agree?
Martha, I was in Taiwan a couple months back, and I said just about exactly what Speaker Gingrich just said. It's time to change. It's become very clear that Taiwan is an independent nation, free, sovereign, independent of the Chinese Communist Party. It was never, Martha, as you know, part of China. It ought not to be part of China. That's not what the Taiwanese people want, and we should provide them the tools to make sure they can maintain the sovereignty. I think Speaker Gingrich had it exactly right, the same way I said it a couple months back.
Including putting American boots on the ground if necessary?
We have to do everything in the advance of what we see Chinese Communist Party threatening, and then build out a coalition in the region. We don't have to confront the ultimate answer to that question. We need to be very clear about the enormous cost. We did this for 4 years, Martha. I'm not just making this up. We worked on this for 4 years. The Chinese Communist Party threatened Taiwan on our watch, too, and we were determined to provide them with the tools to deter a Chinese Communist Party aggression. I pray the Biden administration will do the same exact thing.
But you're not saying whether or not you believe that you would go so far as to put boots on the ground, American boots on the ground, to defend Taiwan.
We did an awful lot of work there, Martha, when I was the Secretary of State. We put a lot of tools in the hands of the Taiwanese so they could do precisely what we're describing today. I think Speaker Gingrich and I both have this right. There's more to be done. The time is now. It's not to wait until the Chinese have begun their advance before you provide the tools in the same way we did in Ukraine. We were too late, too slow, and too small.
Understood. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Secretary of State.
Yes, ma'am.
Mike Pompeo.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you very much. Good to have you with us as always.